Well, Buzz and I have disagreed on a lot of things, and it's certainly that one. Although Buzz does want to go back to Mars, and I support that. But I believe we should do it in a logical stepping stone process.
Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there? Well, the universe put it there. If you choose, God put it there.
Maybe the last man to walk on the moon. Good to talk to you. Thanks.
Well, John, can I just say one other real quick thing? You know, I'm not going to be there when we go back to the moon and on to Mars, and it may not be this president or those who follow.
Jay, if I told you that everything that well, you know what, Jay? I'm not even going to say that, man, because you know everything we've been told is a lie, Jay. And it's been a hot minute, son, a hot minute since you and me went through the firmament into outer space, right? So I got some
through the firmament, huh?
I got some people. I got some people that have been religiously blowing me up, asking me to look into this project. Thank you, sir. And I'm like, you know what, man? Sure, it's the end of the year. We've been beating Dog Man and all this other crazy stuff up in a while. Me and you, we have done several episodes about the moon and about the moons of Mars. And you know what? I said, you know what, man? Let's do this. Let's do this. So, Jay, tonight, Enigmites, me, and Uncle Jay's urban legend here, we're taking you back to Mars. Pause for dramatic effect. Dun, dun, dun.
Get your ass to Mars.
Get your butt to Mars, right? And so, we're going to break it down. Jay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
How are you doing? This is how rude of me, Jay. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
No one cares,
good,
Jay. All right, I'm the star.
I know. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
No one cares.
I know my role. It's cool.
No one cares. No one cares, Jay.
Nah, nobody gives a shit.
So, bro, check this out, man. We're gonna break down this mission Enigma. It's called Project Red Sun, and at the end of this EnigmaCast, I'm gonna do something completely out of nature, right? And I'm gonna save it to the end. We're gonna get into it, Jay, and it's gonna shock you, Jay. It's gonna shock you. All right, so
ready.
Enigmites, welcome to EnigmaCast. I'm Joseph, aka Professor Augustus. That's my boy Jay, aka
Uncle Jay from Uncle Jay's Urban Legends.
Who you can
find 11 Dog Media. Who
you can find at 11 Dog Media. Jay writes books.
Yep.
Jay makes them.
And tomorrow I will be at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia.
Ah, that's a big deal. This will air Monday, so nobody will know that, but
nope.
But
so
be on the lookout for Jay's.
If you saw me, then you didn't see me.
What we're gonna do is be on the lookout for Jay's board game. What we're gonna do is when Jay's board game comes into, Jay, tell them about the project, Jay, before we get into this. It's actually
really cool. It's a tabletop RPG, right? It's based on the world from the book, right? It's called Carina Sagittarium, and we're testing it right now. It's like a whole new system, like D&D, but it's set in the far future. So, like, yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll have more details on it real soon, as soon as we get it nice and tested first.
As soon as it's nice and tested and it becomes publication and wrapped up, I'm going to get one for free, and then Jay's going to give one away for the fans.
Yes, I am.
We'll do a drawing or something like that.
We're going to have this thing called the Purple Box.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
And that'll be the whole game set. It'll be everything you need to play Carina Sagittarium.
I'm actually pumped up about that, man. I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, me
pumped
too.
Up on that. So anyway,
me too.
All right, nerd. Such a nerd. All right, here we go. All right, Enigmites. So you might not know this, but making the rounds right now was a lot of UFO, UAP phenomenon that's being reported in the United States of America, especially across the globe, especially with, I don't know what's going down. I was actually at the November 13th UAP hearings in Washington, D.C. But this channel we do everything on this channel. We talk about a lot of stuff that we find interesting. We refuse to niche up because we are gangsters like that.
Hey, it's about the enigma, right?
It is. It really is. Good point, Jay. It's what it is, right? And so here's a good one, right?
And according to the hearings, UAPs are an ancient enigma.
Exactly. They are ancient, and no one really knows what they are, so they fall right into our category here.
Fall right into the lane.
But this here is not something that I would normally jump into, but because so many people asked me to do it, I'm going to go ahead and knock it out, right? They just want to know my opinion on it, and I will give that. I'm going to save my opinion towards the end. But it's about a mission called Project Red Sun. Project Red Sun was a mission. I'm going to give you the details of what it's supposed to be, right? Jay will fill in the blanks as we go. Project Red Sun is a mission that was carried out in 1973 where we actually went to Mars. We put boots on the ground on Mars. And
in collaboration with the Soviet Union.
In collaboration with the Soviet Union, right in the middle of the Cold War.
Of the Cold War.
Where we had nukes pointed at each other and we were...
Yeah.
So Enigmites, this look on my face is my fiduciary face, like, okay. So...
Yeah.
And and also too, Jay and I were both cryptologists. We were spooks in the Navy, and we could tell you a lot about the logistics that goes into these type of operations. So this wouldn't have been cheap. So, okay, look.
No.
Let me just say this right now. We're going to go under the impression that there is a southern hemisphere of the United States of America, of the globe, I'm sorry. The globe is round, not flat, and we can get through the firmament, okay? So I know so...
You know, I had my first encounter today with the firmament. I had no idea. I don't know what it is. Like, we're going to have to come back to that, or you're going to either have to give me the Reader's Digest and explain the freaking firmament to me.
I'll give you the cliff notes as we get into this, right? So. Okay,
cool.
Everybody's familiar with the Apollo programs. If you're not familiar with the Apollo programs, if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to be nice. The Apollo programs is where the United States of America...
Go read Wikipedia.
Yeah, where the United States of America, we raced the Soviets to the moon, and Stanley Kubrick helped us beat them there. I'm not saying it was... I'm just saying that we raced them there.
Well, you can't have it both ways, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't have it both ways.
Yeah. Famous Apollo 13 mission where it went bad and south, and they landed those guys with bubblegum wrapper, some duct tape, and a tampon. So anyways, that's a true story. You go watch that story on that, right? Make sense.
You talk about American ingenuity.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy cow.
And then subsequently, we lost all the technology how to do it. I'm just saying, that's not me talking, people. This is NASA talking here. Like, they can't go back because we supposedly lost how we landed a metal porta potty on the moon 19 times. So anyway, look, I digress. Let me stay on point here.
Let me stay on point. We needed the room for the company Christmas party.
Exactly.
Got taped over. I'm sorry.
So Project Red Sun, supposedly a top secret joint operation with the Soviets, and they actually hit it for budget purposes under Apollo 18, 19, and 20. That's important to remember, right? Usually every time they choose to pick a satanic Nephilim watcher name for our NASA program like Saturn, Jupiter, Achilles, Archimedes, Apollo, they have to go and get that approved, right? A lot of Egyptian fiduciary goes on with NASA. But this time they didn't do it, right? So they said, you know what? We're going to sneak it in with our arch enemies, our rivals who want to kill each other. And the logic being behind it is that, and this is fiduciary number 2, is that, okay, when we do wipe each other out, at least we will all be able to send a couple Russian boys and girls and a couple American boys and girls to Mars, and they'll all get along, right? No one else can go, though.
Yeah, here's where I have to admire your, what's the word? Neutrality.
Yeah, right.
Unbiased,
right? So yes, it was to establish a colony on Mars.
Let's just take the facts, right?
Right.
Let's just take the facts. It was a mission to Mars. It was a joint Soviet and American mission to Mars in 1973. They continued the Apollo program, and they went to Mars with the idea of establishing a colony there.
While we try to murder each other here on a live planet. No, you know what? I'm going to say I'm biased. We're on a live planet about to kill each other, so let's send people to a dead planet in case we kill each other on the live planet. I'm just saying that's what.
I see what role I'm going to have to play.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna try to reel it back in.
So here's the thing, though. But we launch all kinds of stuff from Russia right now.
Yeah,
and they're at war, and we're funding their person they're at war with, and we're still launching shit from Russia.
Make it make sense, right? It's almost like
it's because the scientific community typically tries to stay neutral.
Or it's
That's why we get all these advancements in China, right? That's why we get words of the advancements in China and words of the advancement in Russia and like nuclear physics and stuff. Those guys talk. It's a nice little back channel.
It's almost like, that's a good point. Or you can go my route, that it's all a game, it's all a lie. They're using it to launder money through Bitcoin. I'm just saying man. That's my route or whatever. But I'm going to tend.
Let's be real let's just like take a step out from behind the veil and just tell everybody how it really works. It's all a game. They're all a bunch of mercenaries. It's all about them and making money for them and getting their interests pushed.
And I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you why for sure. I'm going to tell you why. That's a good point. But anyways, let me give you the players in this, right? It's going to be the keywords you've always heard. They're primary astronauts. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and a Soviet cosmonaut named Vladimir Ilyushin were the 3 astronauts they sent to Mars. Now I'm going to go into premises. We'll discuss the legitimacy of this towards the end, but I'm going to go into the premises while I give you the notes that it actually really happened. At the time, here's some things that were correct. At the time, the United States of America, we had the strongest rocket on the planet, man. It was the Saturn V. And that was the Saturn V rocket, absolutely was, at the time in 1973, was the strongest rocket on Earth. The logic is that the Russians had better life support systems than us, and they were able to actually know how to survive the journey. Because where it took 3 days to get to the moon, it would take 6 months to get to Mars, because Mars has a weird kind of elliptical orbit. When we're orbit is where it's like it can be anywhere from
it's just a way that so it's all elliptical. All the orbits are elliptical.
Yeah.
And so if the Earth is on its, because they don't all spin at the same rate, like all on a rail together, some might be over here and over there, and you've got launch windows, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're in the position where Mars is at its, I guess the word is epigee, like at the edge of its elliptical orbit, like on the outside, and Earth is like over here on the other side of the sun, it's going to take a long ass time.
Yeah.
But like they do eventually come close to each other at the end of their ellipses or somewhere along their orbit, and that's your best launch window. Yeah, when
we're at our closest points, we're 34 million miles away. When we're at our farthest points, we're 225 million miles away.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, give or take a million, right? So
that's a huge difference, dude.
Yeah. So what they did is that the plan was that, the launch window came up and we were going to take it. Now, the fun fact for you, because, I'm just that kind of guy. Saturn V rocket was actually developed by a famous war criminal. I mean, a famous
Nazi.
A scientist named Wernher von Braun.
Scientist.
Who developed the V2 rocket, which killed 9,000 civilians in Great Britain, but also killed 20,000 prisoners of war while he was testing it and correcting it out. But the good news is, Operation Paperclip, we went in there and snatched him up, brought him over here, and we put him in charge of NASA's rocket program, and he became besties with Walt Disney. And if you think I'm lying, go look it up, nerds. They had dinner together, they hung out together, and Wernher von Braun actually designed the Land of Tomorrow for Walt Disney at both Disney World and Disneyland. Fun fact, if you don't know how to differentiate between Disney World and Disneyland, Disneyland has L.A. in it, and it's in L.A., and Disney World has O-R-L in it, and it's in Orlando.
I never thought about it.
Yes, it's in Orlando.
I never even thought about that, dude. Yeah. I never thought about that.
And that's how we get down around here. You get the fun facts around here, noobs. You get the fun facts, right? So
that's one of those stupid things.
Yep. So the United States of America and our democracy went to space with communists designed on a rocket by a Nazi, right, in 1973. And here's
Sounds like
where
the plot to it sounds like the plot to a sci-fi movie.
it does, man. It does, right? And so, but here's where it gets actually a little bit interesting for me.
Okay.
They launched it from a deep within the jungles of Brazil is supposedly where this launched, because all the Warsaw or NATO continents at the time were tracking any type of missiles that were being
any kind of
used.
launch.
Yeah, it was getting taken off, right? Oh, I can believe
Right.
that, right? I don't know
Yeah,
how.
that's 100%.
And I totally, absolutely believe that we could get everything via boat from Florida down to Brazil and into without being detected. That wouldn't.
Yeah, but
It'd have to be assembled on site, but like a lot of people would have to be involved. But still,
dude, here's where I have to step in as a skeptic and say, if you launched a Saturn V rocket from Brazil, people would notice.
yeah. But we're going on the
We're not even.
we're going on
We're
the
gonna try.
premises. We're going on the premises that this is how they did it, and this is how they said they did it. Now this is how they say they did it, right? And when I say say, they also at the time they were carrying what was considered to be the most sophisticated piece of equipment that we had, which was called the ISV, which is the Interplanetary Space Vehicle Columbus, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how they did it. Now, a lot of people initially would say that this is fake, this is not real, this is whatever. But in 2011, an Italian journalist named Lucas Quintin Borlo came out and came forward and said that he had emails, paperwork, receipts, and a video proving that the 1973 NASA mission, Project Red Sun, actually happened. Now, I'm going to put that video in right here. That video is hard to watch, and I'll tell you why. Right? And I'll tell you why. They were supposedly in outer space 158 days. It took them 153 days to get there, right?
Right.
And they look like they're in a VW wagon. And
Right.
I couldn't be next to a blanket for 158 days in that close quarters, much less two other guys, right, heading towards that. That's just me speaking.
And not get stabby.
Huh?
Not get stabby.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you think about where we used to live.
yeah,
I lived in that back little corner back there.
yeah.
That was pretty close.
And it got stabby. Yeah.
It got a little
It got a
stabby.
little stabby, right? Not from our crew, but anybody that when we broke down
There was
into
no coming in there if you weren't.
when we broke down the Planet of the Apes, man, like nobody was allowed past that certain curtain, man. So anyway, so yeah. But that was how it supposedly
They've got
happened.
people up on the International Space Station, hovering on the firmament.
Right. Yeah.
And those two people from Boeing have been up there for a while now.
Well, no, I thought Elon snuck up there and got him down. This was
Did he?
reportedly the rumor. Yeah,
I
it got like no press about it. But anyway, so I mean,
I thought
yeah, they could still be up there.
he got the. I thought that he got the other ones down. I don't know. I have to look into it.
Possible. Anyway,
But they were, regardless, they were up there for a really long time.
really
right?
long time, close quarters.
And what was starting to happen?
I don't know. I didn't follow.
They
It.
were getting sick.
Oh well, exactly right. So
starting to get sick.
that's another thing too that we'll get into that as well, right? Another thing we'll get into it as well. So they landed supposedly, and then came back. So Buzz Armstrong and
So they spent a minimum
Of a year,
of 300 days in space.
right? And
Now,
no one noticed that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin weren't around. They were just gone.
now I want you to think about those orbits.
Yeah.
Because Earth's getting farther away.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yep.
Out of that launch window.
So there you go, and we're using their math, right? Like I said, by using their math and their terms, the longer they were out there, the more difficult it was for them to actually get back. Not to mention that I thought it was
Absolutely.
Not to mention I thought it was a little odd that Apollo 13 had a catastrophe and had to come back, and then literally 5 missions later, we're aiming for Mars, which 200 times difficult. Whatever. So, anyways.
Way harder. Way harder.
But there are some things that actually back up a little bit what they're saying. I'm going to put some photos in that supposedly were leaked out right here. Now, just like I said that video was kind of hard to watch, I ain't never seen more fake photos in my life than the fake photos that were just up there on that screen, right? That literally looks like a G.I. Joe, literally a G.I. Joe in like a sandbox somewhere. And here's another fun fact for you, Enigma. It's about 3 years ago, NASA got busted tinting the atmosphere on Mars to make it look red.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yep. So that it would look authentic.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Mars actually has a atmosphere, a blue atmosphere, right?
Very, very thin.
Thin, right?
Very thin.
Yeah. I forget what somebody said. Somebody's I forget what it said. It's basically imagine breathing at 20,000 feet, and that's the air
Oh yeah, dude,
on Mars, right? It's like, you're still not out there jogging or anything like that, right? You need something, right? But so it does
you're
have
not
an atmosphere.
You're not just barely though. Like, and I don't even think I don't think it's a breathable atmosphere.
I don't know what it is, man. I know you probably, like I said, you could be out there. You wouldn't need a spacesuit. You would need a mask or something to breathe. You don't need.
It ain't gonna last long because it's cold.
Yeah, it's really cold. But also too, there's tons and tons and tons of frozen water, underneath the soil of NASA, of Mars. So it's not a dead planet. Yeah. The ice is melted and so whatever. Just need some trees.
There's resources there. It's it's not a nice place.
Right.
Like and that's the thing though, man. That's there's not going to be any other nice place for us
for
but
us.
here.
Here.
That's it.
That's it. And so also Buzz Aldrin and this other guy named Gene Cernan, this other astronaut. If you watch the intro clip to this EnigmaCast episode, they've had what I would say is moments of slippage when they were talking and when they were deep in conversation where subconsciously they let Mars slip out of their mouth and they're talking like they had actually been there before, right? And so it's not a and it didn't happen more. It didn't happen just once or twice. Like it happened, right? So that adds a little bit of bit of believability, for lack of a better word.
I just don't think that this is the one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, like, they may have other knowledge that we aren't allowed to have.
Mm-hmm. And
that's probably what's slipping out. Like, you and I both know, if you work with classified data for a long time, and we're talking about a long time, like longer than we did, right? You forget what's still under the umbrella and what's not.
Yeah.
Right. And especially when these guys are they were older when they made these statements, right?
Yeah, and Buzz also too had some slippage later on in his life, man. He dealt with some dementia or whatever, and so I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
He's still alive. I'm talking about him like he's dead, but like I guess he's kind of still around, right? So.
I don't remember, but yeah, he get weird when he got old, and he punched the dude.
Yeah, that was gangster.
That was pretty cool, though. Yeah. I thought that was pretty gangster. Yeah, but like, here's the thing: you went to the congressional hearings. You tell me, right? Those dudes were sitting up there in front of Congress, and they were being asked the questions, and they answered all the questions. And according to the information that we got, like what little trickles that we're getting, there is stuff. Yes.
No. So definitely. So
if we have, like, so either we've successfully reverse engineered some of it, or we haven't.
Yeah.
My guess is that we haven't been able to make sense of much of it.
No, I totally agree with you on that as well. And so, and another thing too was that another astronaut came forward in 2011. I think it was 2017. His name was Gene Cernan. Gene Cernan was the last astronaut ever to walk on the moon, and he let it slip out a quote as well that Project Red Sun never ended, and that we're actually making trips back and forth all the time from Mars, right?
And see, that's the thing. And then you've got Gary McKinnon, right?
Yeah, and then exactly. Go ahead, Jay. Tell him who Gary McKinnon is.
So I love Gary McKinnon because he's always framed as a hacker, right?
Yeah.
And he did no such thing.
No,
he did about a level 0.2 on the hacking scale against a government facility, which didn't surprise me at all.
No.
There were no and very easy passwords is what he got past.
1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D.
A bunch of spreadsheets and stuff. Right. Like password. Yeah. What's your password?
Password.
Right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Or just blank. Right? Yeah. That's the extent of his hacking that got there.
Yeah.
And that still got him in to see stuff that he said, looked weird, right? Like one of the spreadsheets that stuck in his mind was for non-terrestrial officers, right? NTO officers.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean...
And it just a list, and then a list of ships.
Yeah. So Enigmites, that doesn't mean that there was a Andromedan down there, Klingon, walking around. It just means that there were officers who were stationed to aircraft not on Earth, right? And so he postulated that the fleet was probably ours. And again, here's where it gets a little strange. Our government went after this dude with almost a SEAL team to get him
full force.
Almost, ridiculous. To get him extradited and prosecuted in the United States of America. And I actually got to applaud the Scottish government for having some cojones and telling him to pound sand. He's not a hacker. There was no password on there. He just
Right.
hit enter.
He just was dicking around.
He got in there and looked around. He found it, right? But again, if it was some guys playing a joke, playing some kind of video game, then what's the hubbub, right? And so that's again, that's the weird gray area that goes.
And then you have and again, right? Like, okay, we know Columbus saw a Tic Tac.
Yes.
We figured that shit out.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
I've been doing my research that has come up and hit the level of like, okay, pre-flood, right? According to the research, you can get to a almost an industrial society without it being a trace of it left after an event like, the flood.
Yeah.
And the Younger Dryas event,
yeah,
whatever
remember,
that was.
Also, too, the Book of Enoch says no one got away, but in the Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki pulled back to Mars. That's where they're supposed to be observing us from, is actually Mars.
Really?
Yeah, well, according to the red, I mean, unless there's more than one red planet, but yeah, red planet was mentioned in the Sumerian tablets, is where they pulled back on it. And then also
Probably Deimos. That's probably what's on Deimos.
Yeah, that's probably really, Deimos, tell them, Jay, is a moon that circles Mars every 7 hours.
A
Potato, and it's
a potato that is very close to the orbit, like on a very close orbit around Mars,
and it has a huge obelisk on it, a huge one, just bigger than the ones we got in DC.
It's got something weird on it for sure.
Yeah, the 3 biggest obelisks on America or the planet are Washington D.C., London, and the Vatican. Make that make sense. So, anyways, make that make sense. And why is the Egyptian obelisks stationed where they are? But I'll tell you why in a second. Actually, I know why. So
I think this one is slippery because I think this is one of those where you could, if you really wanted to, if you really wanted to, you could use this to your advantage.
Oh, yes, for sure.
To hide real things behind a cloak of, well, we debunked 95% of it, so it's all BS.
So here's the thing, too. A thing that they reported, all 3 astronauts reported, is that they immediately encountered life when they landed. Immediately is what the report they said. They actually saw people walking around as they were descending, right? And then also, too, again, Gene Cernan was saying that NASA has cut feeds from Mars when extraterrestrials walk into view. And I'm thinking like, okay, I thought it took 15 minutes to get one signal back and forth. That's just me.
That's
using their math, right?
Well, I mean, yes, it's on a delay.
Right. I guess you could cut the feed on Earth when it was coming in. Maybe pull the plug on it.
Exactly. You could delay the delay.
So, Jay,
right?
we know about bouncing some satellites, Jay. We know about.
That's what I'm trying to say, right? If you're seeing the feed before the feed is going to NASA,
we know how to daisy chain a few comms from Australia.
You can edit on the fly, sir.
To Naples. Anyways, so that was what they said happened. That's what they said is still going on. And I don't know what to believe anymore. We're going to go into, we're going to go step by step here. I got questions. So Enigmites, that's the story. Now,
yeah. So let's run down the summary. Okay. Here's the claim.
Yep.
The claim is that there is an ongoing
to this day
mission back and forth to Mars, has been going on since the 73, called Project Red Sun. And that it originally started as a joint Soviet venture, and it has startling similarities to sci-fi novels.
It has a lot of fiduciary that's involved in it. Now, here's where I'm going to throw a little shade on this, Enigmites, and I'm going to tell you what. Normally, Big Daddy here, I go all in, man, like, wow, that's amazing. I'm about to take a cleaver and I'm about to chop suey this bad boy up like you have no idea. You have no idea. This is the biggest load of.
Yeah.
And even it's not even well written. It's not even a try.
Well, I mean,
and I'm going to tell you why. We'll start. First of all, we're going to start with the source. NASA, known liars. They have been airbrushing UAPs and UFOs out of videos since the 50s, as a matter of fact, right? They've been doing that, right? So they have been nothing but deceit. They are not a civilian branch. They are firmly underneath the Department of the DoD. They are a military organization. That's why their pilots are Air Force pilots, Navy pilots, Army, I think maybe an occasional Marine pilot, but the rest of you Army guys need to step your game up, I guess.
Has there been a Marine pilot?
I think there's been like one Marine pilot in there. So NASA is a known liar. Somebody sent me this thing saying NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. I looked it up, man. I can't really find where it says to deceive. I don't speak Hebrew, or I don't know. So if you know in the comments if NASA means to deceive, go ahead. But what Big Daddy does know is that there's one thing all these people had in common. Wernher von Braun, Walt Disney, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and my man Sergey over here. Not Sergey, let me get his name right. I want to treat this guy with Dmitri, whatever his name was. They're all 33-degree Masons, right? 100% 33-degree Masons. All of them are, right? Even my man Gene Cernan down here is a 33-degree Mason, right? A Mason above all others. And so right there is, if you know anything about when something doesn't make sense in my life, when I see what's going on, I use a very simple algebraic equation. Good or evil, Satan, Jesus. And I put the equation on this. And the thing is like, why would they be lying about this? And then automatically, boom, I know why they would lie about this right off the bat, right? Is to prep and lay the groundwork for the eventual rolling in of the New World Order, where exactly that the United States and the Russia, when we were in a Cold War, that Cold War was just for us. The guys at the very top knew we would never shoot a nuke at each other. We never knew. It benefited both countries greatly for us to be at war with each other with the amount of black budgets that was going on. There was never a single... The difference between a Cold War and a hot war, ladies and gentlemen, is when rounds go down range. There was never a shot directly taken at
each other.
And people want to say, oh, what about Vietnam? Again, here you go.
That was a proxy war.
Well, it was a money grab on both sides.
Well,
the Russians made a lot of money selling AK-47s to North Korea and Laos and Cambodia.
Yeah.
And we made a lot of money. We made a lot of money blowing up those AK-47s with napalm, so they had to make some more to send them back down there. This right here is military industrial complex 101, period. Masons would totally be involved in that, especially at the highest level to go into it. Second thing is that I want to get into this is that the fact that going to Mars would be incredibly expensive, right? It's so expensive, right? And the resources to go with it.
It's not even that, man. It's not even that. The amount of punishment your body would take.
Yeah. Tell him, Jay. This is another thing, too, right here. This is my second fiduciary thing, Jay. Tell him why this wouldn't work, Jay.
You have... So they did the twin study. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but I can't. So I'm just not going to bother. But there was two astronauts, right? The one guy went up and spent... It was like, I think he spent the longest time ever in space, right? It was part of this study that NASA did. He spent as much time as he could. When he got back, he was not in good shape, man.
It's very emaciated.
You take a lot of radiation. And 0 G is hard on your body, right? Like whether you want to say evolved or whatever you want to, were created, however you want to throw that down,
Yeah.
right? We were made for this place,
Yeah.
right? We've adapted to this place, which
Mhm.
means gravity and air and like sunlight and
Yeah.
all of those things, right? And we need all of those things.
Yeah, and his muscle atrophy was incredibly bad. Also, the human body's immune system will shut down in 0 G's.
Eventually.
It won't happen instantly, but over a long period of time, our body will shut down. Now, here we go again. I already know what people are thinking. Therefore, if space is real, Mars is real, we're going there, we would have to establish literally Star Trek level technology of two things. One, artificial gravity on the spacecraft so our body would maintain its functioning system, just like in Star Trek. And inertia dampeners, where we could take off and stop instantly without turning into Play-Doh, right? Mush, right?
Yeah.
Neither one of these things, to my knowledge, were created at the time.
Exist.
They might be now with these drones that we see or whatever. But we're also strapped onto a bazillion trillion tons of diesel fuel or whatever the fuel is they're shooting up into outer space.
And
right?
that's the other thing, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah.
The amount of fuel necessary to get to Mars and back.
Yeah.
It's just not feasible, right? Like,
yeah.
The only way to pull this off is to have a refueling space station somewhere up there.
Right.
Right? Like, you could orbit the moon, but then you have to refuel that one.
Right.
And how are you doing that? Like, and it's just the logistics are just completely not feasible, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're talking about long-term, like, repeated missions to Mars, you have to have infrastructure in order to pull that off.
And I'll even go you.
So I got some facts too, but go ahead.
No, give me your facts, because I'm about to attack some people.
Okay, hold on.
Well, where's your facts?
So the record for the most cumulative time spent in space, totaling 1,111 days over 5 missions. Oleg Kononenko holds the record for the most cumulative time spent in space. The longest single space flight of an American was Frank Rubio, 371 days on the International Space Station, right? So, and I remember them coming back with, like, they're not able to walk. Your spine gets decompressed, so like you come back taller, but then it does recompress, and so you like it just there's all kinds of medical issues that happen with digestion. And how do you go to the bathroom? How do you relieve yourself in 0 G, right? So there's no gravity there to help pull your food through your system.
And there's also another thing that goes in there too, is that being in outer space actually will run havoc on your circadian rhythm. Yeah, so, and that's what wakes us up and slows us down. But that right there in itself, over short periods of time, can be dealt with. But we're just saying.
Now I got the thing. 1 to 2% loss of bone density per month.
Yeah.
Muscle atrophy, cardiovascular changes, fluid shifts to the upper body, and decreased workload on the heart. Right.
Yeah.
So your heart is one of the things that atrophies, and then there's radiation exposure, immune system suppression, psychological stress, vestibular and balance issues, fluid redistribution, gastrointestinal changes, and muscle and joint pain. So like all of these happen from prolonged experience in 0 G. So if you have someone flying to Mars and back, and they're spending in excess of 700 days in space, they're gonna be a puddle when they get home.
And so that's where I think that This doesn't make it not true. It just adds to a long list of highly improbable scenarios that would make it extremely difficult for it to get done. And now here's the last thing. Here's the last thing I'm going to put on there too, because I don't have a firm reason on why they would even want to come up with this type of story. But I do know this is that
it's easy.
I do know this, that with the Apollo 13 mission, I've thought for a long time that the Apollo 13 mission didn't have a malfunction. It got shot at because looking now, what I know now about how the moon is actually in our atmosphere, probably the stratosphere, the trope. Which one's at the very top, right? It's in, right?
Ionosphere?
Ionosphere, yeah. What is it?
The moon is far away, sir.
Yeah. So there's it's in our atmosphere though. I think it's within the thing. I don't think it's in outer space.
Magnetosphere, maybe.
I don't think it's in
maybe
outer
it's
space.
in our magnetosphere.
Yeah.
But it's not close enough. It's far away.
Yeah, I don't think it's outer space, right? That's just me.
Okay.
I don't think that they're right. So based on what we've been doing on this channel, if maybe that we made contact with something that was living on the moon and they were shuttling us back and forth with their technology to Mars, maybe this would happen. But again, looking at the videos that were in this video was in this EnigmaCast, looking at the pictures and the photos, highly suspect that it happened the way that they said it happened.
I think it's a psyop.
It could be.
I think it's there to cover. Okay. Step into my shoes for a minute. I'm an evil genius working for the United States government, like in 1996. But except, it's my granddad and it's 1973, and he's an evil genius too. He sees this mockumentary on television about a Mars mission, right? It's a farce. And he thinks, ooh, that's not just a farce, that's an opportunity. Right? That would make a really good cover. If we were to ever do something, we could just say that, oh, it was a hoax. It was a hoax. They've been known to come up with people and plant them and come up with hoax. So what would stop them from doing it this time? Take advantage of the opportunity and use the material that's available.
Yeah, but I'm always trying to think like these guys think. Like, what would be their end game? What would be the benefit on that? What would they gain from that at the very end, right?
Here's what you could gain, right? You could literally gain more wealth than anyone on Earth could possibly imagine.
By faking it?
By covering it while you actually do it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
So
yeah, okay. So I mean,
so here's the thing, and thinking as a devious person, right, which is easy for me. you plant stories, you plant seeds. They may not grow, but they're planted. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I see Project Red Sun is an obvious hoax.
Right. I think so.
But it's a good one.
It's good.
Right? People have put time and effort into it. So why not take advantage of the time and effort that's been put into it and just kind of feed it a little bit? And that way you have a ready-made, plausible deniability if you ever decide to do something such as
an alien invasion
in 2011 have a established Mars mission. I don't know. I'm just
I see where you're going.
Throwing the idea out there.
I see where
right?
you're going with that. But here's the thing.
Because I'm only going from what has been done in the past.
My thing is that I think that if this ever did happen, really did happen, we use technology. I've always said this. I've said this several times on the channel, man, that I think that we're 80 years. We're 80 years behind what they have. and that like we have so much more incredible, amazing stuff that we've developed, but they just won't release because they're, they're evil.
But see, again, I'm going to mirror your words back at you.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the benefit of that?
Enslavement. So this guy, he was a prime minister in Canada. He came forward a while ago and he said that, we've been in contact with all these races before. And he says the only way that the government will ever admit that is if you promise them amnesty, because they were giving us gifts when they were coming here, like how to, increase our lifespan, how to do this or whatever. But we held that back because he thought it would crush the religious order that keeps the earth from, I don't know why they think we'd immediately break into eating each other and stabbing each other when the first alien shows up, but that's just how they always use that. It would crumble the theology aspect of it, right?
Well,
yeah,
I mean, it would to a certain degree shatter some people's worldviews.
Maybe, but here's my thing.
I know at least one congressman who is convinced that they're demons.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, again, if you look at it like this, right? If you look at it from this lens, right? The book of Enoch will tell you that they're fallen angels. Muslims will call them jinns, demons, or whatever. I've been on a really hot streak making Buddhists and Hindus really mad lately, and I'm having some good conversations with them.
I'm sure.
When they'll tell you that it's the Bhagavad Gita or whatever that thing is, man, that comes in.
The Bhagavad Gita.
Right? Where they have 200 lowercase g's, and I could have swore that how many watchers came down, Jay? Do you remember that number off the top of your head? It was around 200.
It was
about 200.
I believe it was.
200.
I understand. But see, that's the thing. And I think that if you get wrapped up in the details of these old stories, you're going to end up with a heartache, right?
Well,
if you wrap yourself around the details and hold them dear to your heart and establish them as fact, you're going to have your heart broken because, look, okay. These are people who were writing stuff back 5,000 years ago. And regardless, reset or not, it was 5,000 years ago. They're describing crazy things.
Yeah.
Like, if they saw real technology, they would still describe it as magic.
And they pray to cows, bro. Come on, man.
Right. Well, which is exactly why we shouldn't get wrapped in the details.
So look,
right? It's more about the ideas than it is about the details.
We need to bring back merry-go-rounds, and they need to be put on every single playground on this planet. If this is true and what we've been told is wrong, you know what? Get tough, man. Rip off the Band-Aid, and we will adapt, and we will figure it out, man. So
I don't disagree with you. I think humanity at this point, in 2025, right? Because that's when it's essentially we're a month away.
Yeah.
From 2025, right?
Let that sink in.
I think humanity at this point is mature enough to accept that, okay, we're not the only things around.
Can't be, man.
Right? I think everybody's kind of realized that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's enough to say, the probability of it in and of itself is just to say, like, you can't say that we're the only ones, right? Like, it is a very, very vast galaxy.
And look, man, I'll even talk to him in theological terms, and I'll talk to him in sci-fi terms, right? Jesus was an alien. Yeah, you're right, dude. He was an interdimensional being, right? And yeah, so yes, it's correct both ways, right? And so when you go into it,
right, it's a semantics argument
exactly.
At that point.
When you got people coming down saying Buddha was a god. No, he wasn't. He was a six-toed, six-fingered Nephilim. He wasn't a god, right? Boom. The Bhagavad Gita, or whatever they're saying over there, man, where they believe in reincarnation and not eating Big Macs or whatever. If that's and we have to reincarnate till we learn our lesson and get it right. If that's the case, you don't need 200 gods. You understand, right? They're not God. If you can't have it both ways where you say, okay, We're here to reincarnate through the karmic cycle until I get it right. You have 200 gods. One of them has 6 arms, is blue, and you have a mountain to this day you can't go near called Mount Kailash because that's where Shiva lives, right? He's a watcher. He was a Nephilim.
It's
100%.
It's possible, but that's where we get into the semantics argument again, right? Of like demon versus alien versus Nephilim versus watcher. Like at this point, really all that matters is non-human intelligence.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what we need to be saying.
Something that is not us. And so if it's not us, we need to ascertain what the intentions are there, right?
Yeah.
Like we need to know why.
And here's where I go.
Okay, you've either been here for thousands of years or hundreds of years or however long, or you were here before us. But either way, at this point, I think we deserve kind of an explanation.
Yeah, and people like to throw it in my face like, oh, why does a Christian talk like that? I'll tell you why a Christian talks like that. Well, here's my options. Buddha, a Nephilim, telling me to give away all my clothes and go beg for food, who died of poisoning, by the way. That's the first god I've ever heard of dying of poisoning, but okay.
I don't think Buddha's supposed to be a god, though. I think he's
the way to enlightenment, whatever. Second,
right. It's a mentorish kind of thing.
The second god is called Shiva, literally the destroyer, the god of death, who's outside of Cern, Jiva Connection, who's basically probably Satan. All right, yeah. I don't want to do with that. Or I can go with Jesus telling me, follow these simple rules, believe in me, and you get a new body and go to heaven. I'm going that route, Slim. You understand? You understand?
I don't, there's a lot to unpack there. Here's the thing. I think I'll go back to what I said before. I think if you get wrapped up in the details, that's where you start to go wrong, right?
I simplified it.
The sentiment is this: love each other like brothers and sisters.
That's what Jesus said.
Be kind to each other and take care of each other. I think that is the message. And it doesn't matter what package that message comes wrapped in. That's the message.
Exactly.
And that's the important part.
So wake up.
The details don't matter. The message is to be kind and loving towards your fellow human being, because that's really all it is. We're all human beings. There's no don't subcategorize. Just be a human being and embrace what that is, right? Because that's pretty freaking miraculous in and of itself.
Love your neighbor like you love yourself.
Careless apes.
Jesus said that's one of the top 2 commandments in there. So good looking out, Jay. So anyways, now if I haven't made you mad in this clip, it doesn't matter. I've got plenty of Buddhists and Hindus. I didn't think that it was possible to make that many of them mad on Instagram, but I'm the wrong dude. That if you want to I'll throw a cheeseburger at you. I'm the wrong guy. You want to come in there? You want to come in there with me? We can go with it. You want to refer to Jesus as my sky daddy? I'm gonna say moo to your sky daddy. You understand? That's just how I get down, son. All right.
Here's the thing that's what's so beautiful about America. You are allowed to believe anything you'd like to believe. And we can all just say, sure.
And you're in Mumbai, right? You're in people how are you arguing? How are you arguing with me from Mumbai, right?
Well,
but they're doing
look, you're getting it a lot wrong, but that's okay.
No, I got it dead right. I get it dead right. You ever seen a McDonald's in India? You ever seen a McDonald's in India?
I've never been to India.
I've been there twice. And you know what it reminded me of? Breathing hot fumes out of a 18-wheeler tailpipe the moment I step out of the airport, right? And some of the hottest food I've ever ate in my life, that was in India. It was incredibly polluted, but the food, I'm not going to say the food, not half bad, right? Not half bad, right?
Yeah, right.
And about 4 billion too many people walking around in that place. Anyways, enough of that, Jay. Enough of that. I'll fight my own battles with the Hindus.
Yeah, you fight your own battles. You're alone on that one.
I'm in that.
You're alone on that one. I'm sorry.
2 questions. 3 questions before we go. Real or not real? Let's go down or not go down?
I don't think it's real. I think that it's a pretty good fake, but it's still a fake.
Straight up head fake, man. Straight up head fake.
Yeah,
Number
yeah.
2, Jay, was the Cold War real or fake?
Oh, I know for a fact that the Cold War was real. We were there
Fake.
right at the end of it.
It was fake. You know when I realized that the Cold War was
Oh,
fake?
you think it was fake?
You know when I was
What do you mean fake? Okay, so let's qualify that, because
fake.
like
It was made up.
it was real. It was real, but we were never in danger of launching nuclear missiles at each other.
We were told that the Russians were the boogeyman the whole time, and this, that, the other, and all this other
Yeah,
crap.
that's stupid though. Like, come on, man, be real. Do you
know,
really
do you
think
know, do you
that
know,
everyone in China is out to get
Yeah.
us? Do you think everybody in Russia is out to get us? No, there are two guys in Russia just like this having a freaking conversation over a beer or something like that. Wondering what the hell is going wrong there too.
I actually, it's boxed up, but when I get my new studio set up, it's going to be on display down here. This is when I knew the Cold War was real. You and me and our boys were in Vladivostok, Russia, during the Russian Navy's 175-year anniversary of their military. I was walking by myself, came around the corner. This dude was hanging out there with 2 other Russian girls. They had I was in my dress whites. He was in his uniform. They offered me warm Coca-Cola, right? There was no ice. This town was so poor, they didn't have ice. The only club they had was a floating barge that was halfway sunk, and they kept playing the Coca-Cola song over and over and over. We went down there, hung out with this dude. You know what I'm talking about, right? Do you remember that thing?
Yeah, I do. I had a different experience.
Yeah, I know you did. Yours was a lot different. Mine was actually fairly enjoyable. I went down there, me, him, his girl, and Svetlana. We're down there drinking warm Coca-Colas. He spoke just enough English that we had a good conversation. We hung out. I gave him my hat. He gave me his hat. I still have his hat with his name in there and on it. This dude had no intention of wanting to fight me. And after about 5 minutes hanging around him and the other ones, I had no intention of wanting to have anything to do with these guys.
No.
So yeah,
it's all these people who have these egos that can never be satiated.
So Enigmites, well, I was doing the right thing by improving relations with the local people, Svetlana. Jay and his buddies decided it'd be fun to go into a Russian mob bar and start pounding vodka and piss off Sergey, and ended up having to run out of there with chairs getting thrown at him. 2 different stories, 2 different lifestyle choices.
Have any chairs thrown at us? We went to a Russian bar.
Sergey wasn't going to tune you guys up.
Met up with some people, and they were very cool. And they said, "Hey, you should come with us. We're going to the beach." And we were like, "Yeah, let's go to the beach." And so I had a bottle of vodka in one hand and a camera in another for a little while, and then the camera was gone. So I don't have any evidence of this night. I took a lot of pictures. And then I don't know where they're at. I'm sure they're in some Russian bar somewhere hanging up of the weird drunken sailor taking selfies on the beach with this young Nastya. And we partied on the beach with bonfires and the Russian mafia. And when it got close to curfew, a young gentleman named Yermani was nice enough to escort us back to the ship.
I can't believe it, man. Y'all don't follow no directions. I did everything right. I drank warm Coke. I mean, Svetlana, she was beautiful. I hung out with her. She was really nice. I met her the second night as well. You guys went right where we weren't supposed to go, talked to the guys we weren't supposed to talk with, and partied with them all night long. You're a bad influence. You're a bad influence. You're a bad influence.
I know. I'm a bad
on me.
I've been told. Oh well, wait a minute. Come on now.
Nope. Save that for another episode. Nope.
Yeah.
I'm a good boy. 3rd question on the way out. What would you have done with Wernher von Braun?
What would I have done with Wernher von Braun?
What would you have done with Wernher von Braun?
I kind of don't think I would have changed anything.
I got to say,
to be honest.
Yeah.
His it was. We've had this conversation before about how do you separate the act? How do you separate achievement from personality, right? How do you separate the accomplishments of a person from their possible indiscretions, right? Happens a lot, and it's something that we're all going to have to reconcile ourselves with.
So I tell you,
because your heroes are never as perfect as you think they are.
no. And I thought a fair amount about this in closing here, Enigmites. And when I was in Japan for 9 years, I've dated some Japanese girls, but the one girl I dated the most over there, her name was Tomoko. Her father absolutely hated all Americans. And he was old enough to remember stuff, right? However, her sister was married to a Japanese guy. Was a little bit older than me at the time, but close enough that we would hang out. And one time we were in a karaoke bar, just the four of us. I was the only gaijin in there, and we were in a karaoke bar, and one of the older guys in there took offense to it. Well, he started having a conversation with him and was talking to him. And by the end of the night, the older guy had calmed down. Well, not the end of the night, man, like about 10, 15 minutes later. He calmed down, and after we left, I was like, hey, man, what happened? He's like, nah, man, I had to talk to that guy. Number one, it's rude for Japanese to be rude. They consider if you've never been to Japan, that wouldn't make any sense. It is very, very, very
it's
taboo.
Frowned upon to be rude in any way.
Yeah, to be any way Japanese to be rude is very not good, right?
It's out of character.
It's very out of character. And he said he was reminding, and the guy was pounding sake too, man. It's no problem. And he said, then I reminded him, Joseph, that you can only make peace with your enemies. That's it. It says the war is over. You want to fight it again? That's literally what he said. And this was like the war was over 50 years ago, right? And he's like, that's what I told him. He's like, you can only make peace with your enemies, right? And so stuff happens during war. I wasn't there. I wasn't there, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And
none of us were.
None of us were there, right? So I think that, you know what, I like to take the stuffing out of old Wernher von Braun and old dirty old Walt. But at the end of the day, man, I would say that it was at war. We were at war, and you were our enemies, and we killed a lot of Germans. I'm saying, so like,
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, we did some stuff.
Yeah. We
were not completely blameless there.
Yeah. No,
right?
For sure. Like I said, like
we weren't anywhere close to, some of the other things that were done. Like, when it all comes down to it, America's horrible things were not as horrible as the horrible things that happened, right? Like, we were not on the top of the list. We're close, but we're not on the top of the list.
Well, we got the opportunity to make the movies because we won. So of course, of course we're doing.
We did horrible things, but they did horribler things though.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, like we know guys. I'm gonna leave their names out of this, man. We know guys that are absolute animals. Like, don't get me wrong, man. Like if we were, if we were taking rounds, I want that dude right beside me. But I don't want you at my house on Christmas. I mean, like, I mean that's real. Like that's the best way I can say it, man. Like, I don't want you around my kids. No, not at all, right? But you best believe when I hear a zip and a pop, cover my left. I know it's going to be all right.
That's the guy I'm choosing for sure. Yeah.
And so,
I get it.
Yeah, man. So I would have probably done the same. I would have brought him over here. But anyway, so last one as we go, in case I haven't made enough people mad. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make a prediction right now, and this is going to be a bold prediction.
Okay. Hit me.
Elon Musk will never colonize Mars. It will not happen. It will not happen. And so I know a lot of people are pumped up about that, and we're talking about that again. That's coming up in the news or whatever. And this ain't got nothing to do with the flat earth or the firmament or the ether or the void.
Yeah. I feel you. It's hard. It's a hard problem.
If it's going to happen, if we're going to colonize another planet, the technology that they have been using, again, they're dropping keywords in the legacy media called, I don't know if you picked up this or not, anti-gravity research. That means we already have it, right? That means we already have it. If they're starting to say it, they're trying to soften the release. Like, like anti-gravity. Yeah, it is. I mean,
Well, because that's the key to everything right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, control over gravity makes it all.
that Tic Tac can go to Mars, no problem. Falcon 10 is not going to Mars.
I don't know that the Tic Tac's going
Well,
to Mars.
the technology behind it, man, like the Borg cubes or whatever they have, man,
The
could go.
technology behind it is going to Mars. Maybe not that specific craft.
Yeah.
Seems a little small to be going all the way to Mars.
Yeah, but it
But
absolutely.
it also moves really fast too. So
Yeah, but absolutely has inertia
the capabilities.
inertia dampening technology, and it's transmedium. It can go right into the ocean doing Mach 30.
That is an anti-gravity craft.
Yeah, it can go
for
right
sure.
into the ocean.
That is a craft that has complete control over the gravity.
So
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take this moment to apologize to nobody because I stand by what I say.
Wow.
All right, you understand?
Here's where I have to stand on the optimistic front and say, never is a long time.
I'm saying Elon. I'm not saying us as a society. I'm saying
And I'm
Elon
saying
Musk.
never is a long time.
Bro.
Look, dude, I think we're okay. So you know who? Real quick, Ray Kurzweil.
Never heard.
You
of
know
it.
who that guy is? Okay, so
Sounds like a nerd.
he's a futurist.
Yeah.
You're not that much of a nerd.
Yeah.
No, you're not the right kind of nerd.
No,
How
right
about
kind
that?
of
But Ray Kurzweil, right? He works for Google now.
Oh yeah. Satan.
But this was a guy who invented the synthesizer. He invented that. Like, he created that, right? Smart dude. Inarguably smart, right? Expert on a lot of stuff. He's been making predictions for a long time about like technology and where it's headed and so on and so forth. And his latest one is, functional immortality is close.
Oh, I heard about this. I heard about you talking about uploading your brain. Is that what it was?
No. Well, I mean, that might have been what he was talking about, but I don't think so. I think in the sense of being able to rewind the clock biologically. Like, not functional immortality,
No.
right? Not like
Yeah.
you can not like you can stab him and he's gonna live. More like he's just never gonna age out.
So yeah, Jay, go watch that movie Jupiter Ascending.
I've seen it.
It's a documentary. I'm watching it right now, and I'm convinced it's a documentary.
Okay, I gotta
I'm
go
convinced.
watch it
Go
again then, because to me it was.
All right. Enough of this
Bad
crap,
sci-fi.
Jay, talking about synthesizers and immortality and
Just saying.
freaking weirdo. Anyways,
It's a long
nerds,
time,
if you stuck around this long, you know the drill. You know who you belong to right here.
Yeah,
Pound it
you're
up.
all kind of loser.
All kind of losers,
Kind
man.
of loser.
Do us a
I
favor.
gotta do it the wrong.
Hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments if you think Project Red Sun was real or not. I absolutely don't, and I believe a lot of weird stuff, bro. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah, that one was hard.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
that one was hard
It's hard.
to grab.
It's hard to wrap it around, man. Hard to wrap. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
just
I'm not
too
gonna
many.
say you lose me at NASA, but I went through it pretty hard, and I try to stick to my guns. But that was it.
Yeah,
Well, all right.
that was the height of the space race.
Yep. That's it. All right, Jay. You got anything?
All right. No, I'm tapped.
All right, nerds. That's all you get for $1. We're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.